You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman. I'm chairman of the Branford Inland Wetland Commission. I will now open the commission's regular meeting of October 23rd, 2025. It is now 7 o'clock. This evening's meeting will be conducted as a virtual meeting using the Zoom software conferencing platform. It is being held in accordance with Connecticut Public Act 22-3 and the Inland Wetland and Watercourses regulations for the town of Branford. Documents referenced during this meeting are available on the town's website or via the agency's webpage. The final agenda for this evening's meeting was filed October 21 and is also posted on the town's website. Any changes to the agenda as filed, Jamie, at this point?
No changes.
Okay. I believe Branford Community Television is recording and broadcasting this meeting. We are thankful for the time and effort to provide the service for the community at large. For those speaking at this evening's proceeding, please be conscious of positioning your camera so that your face is visible for the recording. Also, to ensure an accurate and complete record, please state your name every time a statement is to be made. Any party wishing to speak, please follow that direction. Those wishing to speak can use the raise your hand feature to indicate such desire. Once the meeting has begun, please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. We'll now take a roll call of the commissioners on the call. When I announce your name, please reply with present. Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begeman, present.
Commissioner Mirsky?
Commissioner Mirsky, present.
Commissioner Boda? I think I heard a yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Boda, present.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Armstrong, present.
And Commissioner Papatonis?
Commissioner Papantonis present.
Okay. We also have Jamie Frederick, Environmental Director,
Present.
and Olivia Sandberg, Environmental Associate.
Present.
Olivia replaces Katie Blanchett. This is Olivia's initial meeting with Wetland Team Branford. So Olivia, could you take a few moments and share your background with the rest of commissioners here?
So this is Olivia Sandberg, Environmental Associate. Hi, everyone. This is in my first week. I have just spent the last summer in New Hampshire working for a land trust, and my background is in ecology and evolutionary biology.
Great. Let's see, we have 6 commissioners with us this evening. Therefore, we have a quorum and we'll proceed as such. All commissioners seated are able to vote. Any commissioner this evening, when looking at today's agenda, need to recuse themselves from any of the matters on the agenda? Okay. We have approval of minutes of October 9th. And we have a motion to approve those minutes, or if not approval, maybe a discussion.
This is Commissioner Begeman. I'll make a motion that we approve the October 9, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
And is there a second?
Commissioner Boda, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Commissioner Papantonis, I abstain.
Okay. Item 4 on the agenda, applications for review. Inland Wetland 250903, 42 Silver Street, the construction of a two-family home and a second floor addition to the existing garage for another dwelling unit. Interesting that we have the first OpenGov reference on this application. Jamie, you want to fill us in on what's transpired since the last time we discussed this item?
Jamie Friedrich in the wetland agent. I met with the applicant's engineer out on site just to kind of take a look at the existing conditions. It does, in fact, look like the area was previously disturbed. I think that it was represented that there was a garden in the area where the proposed two-family structure would be going. It looks like there's a lot of Japanese knotweed back there. And then as you get closer to the wetland, there's a little bit of burning bush. No, doesn't look like there's many significant trees that would be impacted by the proposed activity. I did draft up a staff report this week. A little bit busy with training new staff, so unfortunately I got it out later than I was hoping. But the applicant has Jim Preddy present to go over the application, so I think I'll hand it over without any further comment.
You're doing such a good job too. Jim Preddy, sorry, I'm tired. Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Branford. Yeah, let me share the screen. Hopefully you're looking at the map. So this is the property. There's an existing three-family house here. There's an existing three-car garage. And then there's this other field. Well, it's covered in kind of shrubs now, but it looked like at some point it had been mostly cleared. I was told that there was a garden here for many years, previous owner. What they'd like to do is build another two-family home in this area. Driveway up from the existing driveway. There is some grade change here, so there's a little bit of uphill. A couple of parking spots, two-family home. It'll be a duplex setup. The footprint is only about 1,200 square feet. A couple of 10 by 10 decks. The wetland is off the property down at the bottom of this hill. That's the Premier Subaru site, I believe. We did anyway. So I do have connections to water and sewer being developed down the existing driveway. We have provided a stormwater storage infiltration unit separate from the rest for just the roof here. And in conversations with Jamie, I said that we would make this our clean out cap or this manhole inspection cap graded. So in case in the event of, extreme event that it overflowed, it would have a place to come out of the ground. On the other side of the driveway and kind of two little bowl areas, we have a couple of yard drains and again, some infiltrators. We had provided, 1.3 inches of rainfall over the roof in this pavement area here. There was, quite a bit of knotweed that we could see, but pretty much in line with this stone wall that was on the other property, you could tell that this whole area had been disturbed. There was one red maple that was kind of interesting looking over here, but it was split pretty low. So I suspect that'll have trouble in the future. And then there was looked like one tree of heaven that was over here that I would recommend to the owner to get rid of because of those nice lantern flies that love those trees. The other part of this is they're adding another floor to this garage. It doesn't change the footprint or ground disturbance of that at all, with the exception of a stair going on the side. But this footprint of the garage would not change. We are providing standard erosion controls. The construction entrance will be coming off the existing driveway, so there would be the added benefit of all this extra pavement to knock dirt off tires. And that's it. I mean, we meet all the bulk standards for zoning. Without any need for any variances or anything like that. There's other multifamily houses in the area. We have provided, some standard details and erosion control narratives and that sort of thing. But that's it. I guess I'll answer questions at this point.
Mr. Pretty, this is Commissioner Boda. Can you talk about the construction in the rear of the property? Is there grading to be done? Is soil gonna need to be used for backfill? Is it gonna be stored at any point? Just looking at that slope. Wondering about the construction impact more than the final product.
Yes, so sorry, didn't interrupt. Jim Preddy again. So the house is, the construction of the foundation would be more or less in the flatter area. The only thing that's really kind of heading down the bank would be some sonotubes for these decks, and a little bit of grading just to make them not so high. But again, our silt fence line kind of mimics the edge of what we think had already been appeared to already have been disturbed. This is all pretty heavily vegetated with various things, low growth and taller trees down on this backside here. And then there was taller trees up on the top of the slope here, but again, the excavation for the foundation is definitely in the flatter area. We do have some area over here that we can use for some topsoil, but this property also does have fairly large lawn area in the front that if they needed other like lay down areas or something like that, they can use out here. It's closer to the road.
This is Commissioner Begman. I know you said you could use those areas, but there's no stockpiling diagram on the plan. And another question is, when they put in the sewer and water in that existing driveway, what are they going to do with the bituminous or, whatever that driveway is made out of?
Yeah, and it is paved now, and they will have to peel that up and remove it from the site and repave it.
So is that in the Commissioner Begman, is it in the notes that it's not going to be stockpiled, that it'll be removed as it is peeled off? We've been talking about, old bituminous stuff and water and leaching, etc.
It's not specifically called out. We can add a note to the plan, but they wouldn't have any other use for it here on this site, unless they brought in a crusher or something to use it for a process. But this project really wouldn't warrant that kind of machinery here. They would take it out.
And Commissioner Begman, another question about the amount of asphalt in the new house at the back. I see the spaces for 2 cars.
Yeah.
And then looks like a huge area for a turnaround, etc. Is this required?
So this is a turnaround area or potentially a visitor space. And then this area is just for maneuvering. So if somebody's coming out, somebody could get in. I suppose it could be neck down a little bit, but I was concerned about somebody trying to get out at the same time somebody was coming in here.
And Commissioner Begman, another question, the width of the driveway, it looks like, when I was just doing it roughly, is it looking like you're doing a 15-foot wide driveway? And is there a reason why it would be that wide versus a 12-foot?
No, it is 12 feet.
It's 12,
Yes,
and that's standard.
yes. I just went into the CAD file and checked, but it is 12 feet.
This is Commissioner Vagon again. When I was looking at this today and the house and the new driveway with those turnaround pads, it's built in the flat part of the area, and it looks like the surrounding terrain on both the west and the east side, if that's the way we're looking, slopes down to this area. So previously, when the garden was there, when there was nothing built there, rain would be going downhill and settling in there. And now there'll be impervious surfaces where once there was infiltration. And I know you have the 3 infiltrators. My concern is just with that there may be a little bit of increased runoff with steepening the slopes at the base of those slopes before it gets to the driveways. And now that the previous area, which was, garden, etc., isn't absorbing water, whether there may be more water than there will be more water than before, and it won't be infiltrating much. And then you add the driveway and the roof. And I know the 1.3 inches is met, but I just have concerns about that amount of impervious surface there.
So this area here, because of the slope, it will, there wasn't plans to remove all the trees up on the slope other than the one tree of heaven that we saw. And on this side, when you're looking at it from here, there's definitely a kind of a ledge out that goes up. But when we walk down in here, this property really kind of slopes to the back, so really not getting much of it. And then there's a stone wall here that's really kind of acting as a quasi diversion. So yeah, there will be some coming at us here, but again, most of this will remain vegetated, so I don't think that we'll be getting tremendous amounts. And this was kind of a bit of a saddle, so some of it was already going to the north and some of it was already going to the south. It's kind of split, and we're more or less doing the same thing, with the exception that I'm taking the pavement this way to get into these drains, but the roof will go into these infiltrators, which should bleed down toward the north way the water was going before. I was trying to mimic the split as best I could. But these infiltrators have, a bit of storage, and then if all these areas outside the pavement will either be lawn or planted, so there will be some more absorption happening there, like there is now.
Commissioner Begeman, in terms of the length of the pavement and that turnaround spot from the parking spot all the way back, isn't it about 60 feet?
Hold on. So go back. So this is here, this is only 18 feet wide. These are standard parking spaces, which are also 18. So this is 57. So it's almost 60 feet from end to end.
This is Commissioner Vasserman. Mr. Preddy, the building between the two houses where the second addition, or I guess where the second addition is, stormwater ties into whatever the first floor is dealing with today?
Yeah, there are basically there's some gutters and downspouts that exist there now, so we're not really changing any roof area there. I don't actually remember where they all go.
They don't go to the infiltrators, right?
No, they do not, and they don't now. Um, they, I think they just kind of bleed out on the ground around it, if I remember correctly. I don't know if I have photographs of that actually.
This is Commissioner Basserman again. So is it, when we're at the bottom of the downspout, is it just sheet flow at this point, or?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the yeah, it looks like they go on the ground um at this end. I was looking at how we're not doing anything to the existing house, but
Right.
I was just looking at a photograph, and the gutter for that goes along the edge of this house runs down the side and then goes back in the house. I'm not sure where that goes. Somebody may have tied it into the sewer, which is not good, but I'm not really sure. It looks like it's been there a long time, but it ducks back in the house. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't have a good photograph of the garage leaders, unfortunately. But they both head this way, so I think they're running out on the ground on the side over here.
As a follow-up, Commissioner Basserman, again, is that the way you want to leave it, or are you thinking about something else at this point?
Well, now that I was looking at these photographs again, I think that I'm going to convince the owner to fix the gutters on the house, and we'll tie in the garage and put something in the front yard over here. I just have to verify where the existing sewer lateral comes down from the house, but like I said, this is all lawn, so there's an opportunity to
Right.
put something in, and an infiltrator type situation here, because I don't know how it hasn't been a problem, but eventually it will be a problem going back into the foundation.
Mr. Brady, this is Commissioner Boda. Going back to the northern part of the site. So the silt fence that I'm assuming is the limit of disturbance, is that?
Yes.
So after construction and it's removed, so there's two lines. There's a dash line past the silt fence. And then there's a heavier black dash line on the right corner. It says post and rock pile.
That's the property line.
That's what I was going to ask. So that's the property line there.
Correct. This dash line is the zoning setback line.
So I'm wondering if there is anything planned to, I guess, ensure that the folks living there don't then go and of course there are our regulations, but not everybody knows about our regulations, and that just I'm there's not an intention to put a lawn or anything, because you just said this is the limit of disturbance, but I'm wondering if there's any other indicator that that's meant to be the limit of clearing.
This is really where and if you folks want posts or anything, we could do that. But this is really where we have the silt fence is really where the grade starts to drop off. There's really no plan to remove any of the trees back here. So the people that living there will be renters, so they won't be able to do that. And the owner will obviously has to sign the permit, so he'll clearly know that we're not cutting any trees back there. But to your point, if it's something the commission wants, we could put a couple of posts with signs back here to not go any farther, you know, wetlands ahead kind of thing.
Wetlands are good. Just leave them alone.
No, wetlands ahead.
Oh, I thought you said wetlands bad.
Right. Meaning, you're in the buffer basically. And this is this dash line is the buffer line. So, the house and a little bit of the paving is really within the regulated area. The rest of this is not. But yeah, the post wouldn't be a big deal if that's something the commission felt they wanted.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I'm gonna steal the screen share real quick. And I'm gonna show the two pictures that I managed to take while I was out on the site visit. So both of these pictures are taken approximately where the rear limits of disturbance are proposed. So the first picture is looking kind of along the back of the house, the proposed two-family structure. And the second picture is looking towards the wetland area. And of course, I took it where it's more open, so we have a little bit of invasives, but it looks like it's better vegetation on the other side of the site. And just to kind of recap, those pictures were taken approximately in this location here, where the perpendicular stone wall ties into the stone wall along the property line. I did have a comment in my staff report about the fact that no stockpiling was shown on site, and I would just add that stockpiling should be located somewhere other than where the infiltrators are proposed to be installed, just to make sure that we don't end up with soil compaction. I did not think to ask the applicant previously, has there been any infiltration testing on site, or do you know if those areas are likely to infiltrate?
We have not been on site with any kind of equipment yet.
So this is Commissioner Boda. So for you have galleys?
Yes.
It's crushed stone.
Yes, correct. They're not very deep. They're only 18 inches with crushed stone surrounding them.
And this is Commissioner Boda, curiosity, in the front where you have the infiltrators, I'm wondering why those and not a swale, something open?
Just seemed kind of tight in there to do that.
This is Commissioner Bassett. Can we post the plan up again?
Jamie beat me to it.
Would you like to screen share so you can point things out, Mr.
Well, I
Gray?
guess all I would say is that I think on the left side, I think because it's a smaller area, I think this makes more sense, but we could change the one on the right to something a little longer and open. And it would have the added benefit of catching a little bit more of what's coming, anything that's coming off the hill. Like, although, like I said, we're not removing the vegetation on the hill, so shouldn't be a lot. But if we ran it down a little closer south, ran it longer, we could do something open there.
This is Commissioner Basserman. For my own education, I guess, when there's an opportunity or choice between an open system as opposed to something underground, what's the advantage of the swale versus, for instance, the infiltrator?
So the infiltrator is getting the water theoretically back in the ground quicker. The open things sometimes don't get maintained as they should, and they don't really function as storage as they're designed. Of course, none of it, if it's not maintained, will work as designed. But if it's something that's easily mowed, yeah, that you have a better chance of it staying the way it is. I mean, unless we go the other way and make a complete rain garden out of it.
So this is Commissioner Basserman again. So inherently, there's not really a benefit as long as the open system is maintained.
Well, I mean, you have the benefit of it being exposed to, oxygen and sunlight and that sort of thing. But again, if it's different kind of, if it's a grass swale, it's easily mowed. It could be maintained that way. If it's a rain garden, that's a whole different kind of maintenance, but it is a little more obvious and less likely to be filled in if it's done that way.
Mr. Pretty, this is Commissioner Boda. Did you just offer a rain garden?
You know what? If that'll make you happy, I will have him do that on that side.
That'd be great. I love a rain garden.
We could do a long, narrow rain garden. That's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is Commissioner Basserman again. We're only talking about one of the two, correct?
Correct.
And this is Commissioner Boda. You would need to excavate out for that to put in the stone and everything.
Correct. Yeah, there's obviously, yeah. I don't need to tell you, there's a certain mix we need to put in there for it to function properly.
Mm-hmm. So the infiltrating
those specs.
testing is less critical and because you'd be using the stone as the means of infiltration.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the stone
Any other
itself has
commissioner
a certain amount of
questions?
volume.
Can you repeat that? This is Commissioner
The
Boda.
stone itself has a certain amount of volume in the void space, theoretically, regardless of the size of the stone, you get about 40% of the void space you could count on. You're not going to ask me how I know that?
Mr. Peretti, this is Commissioner Boda. How did you know that off the top of your head?
So I'm sure most of you remember Don Blue.
Oh.
He actually went up to Tilcon and got 5-gallon pails of every different size stone and filled them up and measured the amount of water that would fit in the pail to see that it was in fact the same regardless of the size of the stone. The difference was negligible.
Awesome. That's a nice fun factoid.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, is there anything in the staff report that you had prepared that might stimulate any other questions, as it looks like there's going to be a revision here.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. I guess the only comment was kind of just that we have the calculation for the 1.3 inch water quality volume. We do not have stormwater calculations through the 100-year storm. That's not a default requirement for all applications. That's triggered by section 7.8 of the regulations. And essentially I got a comment from the town engineer stating that if the commission is requiring this for this application, he'd be willing to review it. And so if you think it's required, we should let the applicant know. It is, not a standard requirement, but one that we certainly would require for larger developments, and larger impervious areas.
Agreed. Typically, projects aside, we haven't done that, but if that's what the consensus is, we can certainly do that.
Well, this Commissioner Bassman, there's a lot going on this site, which is relatively compressed or compact. To me, it would be worth looking at the 100-year storm just to make sure that we've covered the bases, given the impervious surface that's involved and some of the topography on the site.
Okay, to that end, then rather than have Jamie scramble and add conditions, then I guess we'll come back with that and the change to the rain garden.
And the
Jamie
post in
Frederick.
the back, the post in the back.
Oh yeah.
Post,
Post-
yeah,
The post in the back,
post,
the limit of disturbance.
wetlands.
So
Okay.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent, just to clarify, you're looking for the total runoff and peak runoff volumes for the standard storm events as outlined in section 7.8.
This Commissioner Basserman, and the stormwater treatment on the second floor addition and how that's ultimately
Yeah.
going to get treated.
Probably tie into the, okay. I think I've got that in my notes as well. All right.
That's fine, because before the next meeting, I will also speak to the owner. Hopefully you're looking at the photograph. This this is the gutter that goes back into the house over here. So I'm going to talk to him about that, and we'll, as I said before, add something, deal with that as well.
Yeah, that would be this Commissioner Basserman. That would be an interesting effect with a 100-year storm. With
I
that.
don't even know how, yeah. Agreed.
Okay. Thank you. Any other
Right.
comments from the commission? We'll see you in, is it 2 or 3 weeks, Jamie, at this point?
I believe it's 3 weeks. The next meeting is November
10?
13th.
Oh.
13th? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Preddy.
Thank you.
All right, next up, BRIW. Ooh, we have a public hearing schedule for this, so there's no discussion on BRIW 251001.
Correct. Public hearing set for November 13th.
Yeah. Applications for receipt, item 5, Inlet Wetland 25-2, 3 Pepperwood Lane, grading and paving existing crushed stone driveway.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. They did get it in, at least this application in at least a week before the meeting, and requested that the commission consider whether or not this is something that could be reviewed administratively. I'm going to start off by sharing some existing site photos. The contractor was not able to attend the meeting. So I'm just going to give a quick overview. And then if the commission can let me know if you think it's something I can do administratively, or if it's something that you feel you need more information on to be able to act and that you want to keep it at the commission level. So screen share. So this picture is taken from the existing driveway, looking down into the wetland area. So you see, obviously this wet area is wetland. You kind of keep an eye on this tree here. You can see obviously the driveway when it was established had a little bit of grade change relevant to that tree, which you can see a little bit better here. There's essentially a stone wall made up of boulders that holds the driveway in place. It doesn't look like any material from the driveway is migrating from the wall. And this is an existing condition. It's clearly been an existing condition for some time. But the property owner is looking to pave the driveway. So this is looking up the driveway to the road, and then from the road looking back. And the first two pictures were taken approximately from this location here, looking over towards this wetland area. That's the wrong file. Bear with me as I get used to the new system that we're making all of you get used to as well.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda. As you're doing that, it's actually kind of helpful that we see you doing that, and maybe your thought process as you're looking for stuff. And one question is, are those fields always in the same order, or are they in the order in which things were added?
So that's a very good question, and it's kind of neither.
Cool.
So generally speaking, so some of the fields, if you will, the file types only populate when they're applicable, and some of them always pop up. So like authorizations always pops up if the application was submitted via paper or if the applicant is not the owner of the property. Site development plans is always required, so you're always going to see that. It's always going to be near the top. Same with project narrative, it's always required. It's going to be near the top. Property survey is always present as an option. I didn't make it required because sometimes people lump all of their plans with their property survey in one spot. And then exhibit list is always there, but it's only used if we use it. It's usually on public hearing applications. Wetland report, again, always there. Drainage. So most of these, yes, they're going to be in the same order. And if there's no file uploaded, that means that nothing was uploaded to that location. If we add any additional things, so like I'm still kind of working on some of these. Now that we're actually implementing the system, I'm realizing some of them should be renamed. Like we don't need site walk photos and photos separately. So I'm just going to make one photos location. Wait, we were just looking at this. So anything that doesn't fit one of the attachment locations would be at the end. So if it's like I don't know, an abutter letter or something, it might be at the end. Or if it's a letter from fisheries or something where we don't have a location for it, it would probably be just at the end. And to help make it less chaotic on those really big applications like the public hearing, my goal is to have it so that the exhibit list will hopefully hyperlink you directly to the document. You don't have to find everything. And if there's multiple site plans, hopefully they'll be uploaded to the same location so that you see the latest one and the older ones are still something you can pull up and reference. So
That's helpful. And then, sorry, Commissioner Boda, one more question. Is it possible for you to control the order in which those fall so that you could, like you put stuff, you had stuff at the top, which made sense, but like if there are like things, if they can be situated near each other. So maybe it's like the stormwater stuff, or maybe it's mitigation stuff. You know what I mean? When we get
yeah,
bigger, Is that
I have
feasible?
generally tried to do that. That's a good point. I don't have the mitigation stuff in here. I don't think I have a separate location for that. I've generally tried to do that, and if you have any feedback for me, particularly early on before we get too far into the weeds, I'm glad to hear it. But yeah, so I've tried to lump things by what they are and or when they become relevant in the process. And I can't find this, so I'm just gonna do another little cheat where you can go Control F and you can put in what you're looking for. And it's because apparently I never got around to uploading it. So I'm gonna screen share it and I'll upload it tomorrow.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, do you have any concerns with the paving of the driveway that you would be
Yeah.
concerned about doing it administratively?
So real quick, here's an aerial image from October of this year, pretty recent. You can see the lot is very well wooded. Next image from our GIS showing the NRCS wetland soil layer, which is obviously approximate. The house and the driveway in question to be repaved. I don't think this is a driveway. When I was out there, it was all vegetated. It looks like historically it's been disturbed, but it was vegetated when I was out there. So this is the driveway, and these are the 2016 contours. And it does drop off fairly steeply. There's no space for them to put in stormwater improvements. It is an existing driveway. The level of impervious is going to change. The material, obviously, of the driveway is going to change. I don't really see much they can do to mitigate the change. So I kind of wanted to get the commission's feedback.
This is Commissioner Begeman. We know that that the surface that's there now is better for the wetlands than a bituminous driveway. But what is our role in this case if a homeowner wants to put in something that we know isn't as advantageous to the wetlands that are right there?
Jamie Frederick, in the wetland agent. Generally speaking, I would look for some sort of stormwater improvement to at least improve the water quality. So like maybe a vegetated strip, a rain garden, a bioswale, something to kind of offset the change. There's really no space for them to do that without bumping out that slope and directly impacting the wetland. So it is, I think, a unique situation.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, can you put the picture of the driveway back up?
Sure.
And the width of the existing driveway is what?
Approximately based on this, 15 feet wide at the front and then 28 feet wide in front of the garage.
I don't know. To Commissioner Begeman's point, it would seem to me that certainly in the 20 plus foot area, you could do something. And I don't understand. Go ahead.
I think that then you're telling them they can't use their garage. You have to be able to get out in and out of the garage.
And what's the typical distance for that?
I don't recall, but I did have that conversation with the paver when I was out there, and he said they're already 5 feet short of what the typical distance is.
Gotcha.
Um,
And we couldn't put a a small swale on the right side of that driveway and use a 12-foot driveway, which I heard from the previous conversation was kind of the typical width?
Um, I mean, they might be able to narrow the width of the driveway a little bit in the front. Um, as far as how much storm, I mean, then I guess they would just have a little bit of an extra space before the stormwater would drain over the slope. I don't know that they'd have enough space to create like an actual swale though without
Mhm.
jeopardizing the edge of pavement and the existing stone wall.
This is Commissioner Boda. I mean, I have two thoughts. So first, is there, are they planning to leave those trees?
Yes, they're not planning on changing the configuration of the
And
driveway.
and so the orientation that we're looking at now, how far laterally is the wetland from the top of the driveway? Or from the bottom of the slope that is that rock wall?
So we do not have a wetland delineation. Um, I am assuming it's fairly close to the Toa slope, but I do not know where it is for sure.
This
So
Commissioner Bassman, there's been so many, I don't know,
Yeah.
issues raised. I have trouble thinking that this would be administratively approved.
Agreed. This is Commissioner Boda. So then the second thought that I had is that we are looking at a likely impact. And typically, not typically, I mean, when folks have put in an application, they would also come in with some proposals for how they were going to do the work, and in this case, how they were then going to protect the wetlands. So, I mean, I think that we could spin on ideas, but that's not really our role. I have thoughts about what could be done to protect the wetland, but that's not really my role. I would look to the property owners to see what they can do to mitigate the short and long-term impact to the adjacent wetland based on the work that they're doing. And I would agree that this is not an administrative approval because, well, we're not there yet anyway.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So I don't believe we have a survey for this property. I can double check if we have one in our records somewhere in town hall. It does look like there's a possibility the wetland is located off-site. So I guess two questions. One, do you think a survey is required? And two, do you think a wetland investigation is required?
This is Commissioner Boda. So you can correct me if I'm misremembering, but I seem to remember that when we have the town wetland map, whatever it is, if they're not contesting the lines on the town map, that we have used that, unless there's some striking evidence, like from the town that it's like, well, actually now there's more wetland and, we don't want to be filling where it seems like there's evidence there's additional wetlands. So if there's not a disagreement over what the town map has for wetland lines and what the property owner is amenable to, I don't know that.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So we don't have any wetland delineation for this area. We just have the NRCS layer, which isn't meant to be used at a scale closer than 12,000 square feet. And the GIS map we're looking at is 1 to 480 square feet for those that are not familiar with map scale.
So this is Commissioner Voted. Did you also say that it's potentially not on their property?
Potentially. I mean, I don't know how accurate this property line is. I can take a look and see if we have a survey that might give us some additional information. And also, I mean, the property owner might be more inclined to do a soil investigation than a survey. They're generally speaking significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
And I do believe, I can't swear to it, I'd have to look it up, but I think the adjoining property is the land trust, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind that investigation occurring.
This is Commissioner Begeman. Is there a way to know that when that house was built and that driveway put in, whether
The house, when the house was built, I can look that up,
whether that
approximately based
Commissioner
on
Begeman was it required to have the gravel versus
I think it just predates 1979 is when it was built, it looks like. So it doesn't predate in the wetland regulation, but it kind of predates consistent and developed practices.
So this is Commissioner Boda. I think in short, it for this application, I think we need additional information from the property owner about where the wetland is, what the impact is likely to be, and how they're planning to mitigate that impact.
Okay.
It's
I'll
a
follow
regular
up.
wetland application.
I had a feeling you'd want more information, but I said I would ask given that we're at the end of the paving season.
Sure.
Okay, this is Commissioner Bassman. Sorry I interrupted you, Commissioner Boda, between point 1 and point 2. All right, we have other business, 71 Midwood, which is tabled. And now we're into enforcements. Cease and correct 250901, 15 Pinewood, clearing an encroachment into the wetland area, show cause hearing. We got, did we get information on this one, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. Of course, I just closed the agenda. Yes, we did. We got a wetland or a planting plan from the wetland scientist slash consulting firm today, I believe. I know that the property owner has been looking to get some more information available for the commission, and the planting plan is dated this week, so we did get it when it was available. So these materials are still in the Dropbox because we don't have the violations over in our new system. Materials. So do the commissioners need a quick recap of the site and what the cease and correct order issue is for? Cease and correct order was issued for?
Always.
Yes.
Ask me what I did this morning. I have no idea. So
Right. I mean, I just said I couldn't remember if the plan came in today or not. So, all right. So new property owners, intention was to clean up the site. I think there was some storm damage out there, and also it sounds like there was maybe a previous owner was a hoarder, or there's some hoarding out on the property. So a lot of debris that they were getting off site as well. Didn't realize about wetland regulation. Was very quick to respond when we first reached out to them about the activity and getting the silt fence that they had put up properly installed and getting a wetland scientist out to do a wetland delineation. When it came to our attention that there was activity in the wetland is when the cease and correct order was issued, with the intent of offsetting the activity that had happened in the wetland. Relatively minor in nature. We did get a planting plan to restore the impacted wetland area and adjacent upland area. So I think there's two main points for the commission to consider. One, is the planting plan satisfactory? And two, do you still need an application for the disturbance that occurred beyond what the planting plan addresses. So is everyone seeing an aerial image?
Mhm.
So subject property 15 Pinewood. I believe this is from 2024 and then 2025. I think this was April 2025. You can see that there was some site disturbance. And here you can see some of the trees that were removed. And the wetland is located to the west, off to the left in this photo. So I'm going to jump to the planting plan and show that. And then I think, unless the commission has any specific questions for me, I'll hand it over to the property owner to add anything that they want to add. So I'm going to kind of skip to the photos. So here you can see the silt fence at the limits of activity. Clearly they didn't clear cut up to the silt fence. They left mature trees and even some of the understory vegetation. So it's not like bare dirt scenario for the full length of the limits of activity. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. There's the reference to pink flag on wetland boundary on the right side of the picture, which honestly I'm not sure I'm seeing right now. Oh, right here. So here's the sketch markup showing the wetland flag locations and the approximate silt fence location. So approximately between, I think it's flags, identified further up which flags it was. There's just a little bit of encroachment into that wetland area. This, I think, is remnant of the materials that they were pulling out of the site from a previous property owner. Clearly it's not fresh. And then here again, you can see one of the wetland flags on the inside of the silt fence. I'd say this is the area with the biggest ground disturbance, but it's covered in wood chips, so it's not an erosion concern. And it's not, severely deep. You can still see the root flare of the trees. So I'm just giving you the quick high level. So the recommendation is to plant 8 shrubs within the disturbed wetland area and an additional 22 shrubs in the disturbed upland review area, as depicted on this sketch. So again, the silt fence, disturbed wetland area is where they're proposing to put, I believe it was, I said 8 shrubs, and then the additional 22 in these blue areas between the existing trees. And a list of species, and I believe it said all shrubs should be 36 inches in size at time of planting.
This is Commissioner Begemon. Does the person who recommended this, didn't she in her report also say that the wood chips have to be removed?
Yes, so yes. She recommended the removal of the wood chips in a way that doesn't disturb the soil, and she also recommended the removal of those of this material here.
This is Commissioner Bassman. To that point, the recommendation was to remove the fallen trees. Are they of size that that can be done by hand as opposed to machine?
I think she mentioned branches, and I think that just to help facilitate being able to plant those areas, the trees that were that you could see in the first aerial
Right.
image, those were already being cut up in the upland review area. Further, actually, they might have been outside the upland review area. This one definitely would have extended into the upland review area. I think these ones are outside. They're more than 100 feet from the wetland. Those were already either removed or being removed, and I told the property owner that they could continue to do that work as long as it didn't cause additional disturbance.
Okay.
So I think unless again the commissioners have any questions for me, I'd hand it over to the property owner and maybe just ask, I haven't been out to the property recently. Has there been any vegetation growth in behind the house in the area that was disturbed upslope of the silt fence, or is it? I know that it's not as bare as what was shown in the aerial image. It was more established, but what is the current state, I guess, of the disturbed area? Are you there, Georgia or Alex? I think it's Alex.
George is muted.
yeah.
There we go.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute the mic. It's Alex. No, we haven't. There hasn't been any work done there, so I think things are growing back in because it's just that time of year, but we haven't really been there. There hasn't been any work done there, so I really haven't been there too frequently, to be honest.
Did you have a chance to review the planting plan that you provided, and did you have any concerns with implementing it?
No, it looks pretty straightforward. However, I did see in her recommendation that she said it was the end of the planting season. So, I guess my question would be, I would assume you guys would want me to wait to plant everything. Otherwise, I would honestly go do it tomorrow, you know?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yeah, I'll just screen share that again real quick, that section. It is Jennifer's recommendation that the planting wait until the 2026 spring growing season. Since we are at the end of the 2025 growing season. It may be difficult to get some of the plants this time of year too.
Okay. Which, I don't mind tackling the other things like getting rid of the wood chips, which is pretty easy to just do by hand in a wheelbarrow. And the other logs that you recommended to cut up, the bigger ones on the upland portion, we can start working on those. I just pretty much wanted the full green light from you guys before I did anything.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think my guidance would be as far as when the plantings occur, if the property owner wanted to do it, this in the coming days, he could try and get that done. But recognizing that we are at the end of the growing season, I think it would be appropriate to allow through the spring growing season with the understanding that it would occur in the spring. I would want to also see that the areas of disturbance on site have stabilized with vegetation or some sort of ground cover prior to resolving the violation. And also what I didn't mention is the monitoring period. I believe that Jen recommended a minimum of 3 years with invasive species management and at least 85% survival. The commission oftentimes requires 5, and the compromise has been 5 years with the possibility of reducing it to 3 years if the first 3 years are successful and reports are submitted on time.
Mm-hmm.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, I believe when you went over OpenGov, you indicated that we had the ability to do a better job of monitoring than we had without OpenGov. If shrubs are put in at different times, does that complicate it, or is it sufficient to be able to track it on a
That's a really
plan
good question. So I realized today that when you have form fields for dates, so like I was setting it up so that like we'd be able to say and resolve, like say the commission were to approve this plan tonight, and allow them to plant in the spring, I would put next check-in due in the spring. And I can do that, but I can't filter that column based on date. So I can I can export it to Excel and then I can filter based on date. I don't know. So Yes and no, it's just not going to be as seamless as I thought until maybe we are successful in pestering for an update that is logical.
I guess the follow-up, to Commissioner Bassman, the follow-up question is there an advantage to putting, I mean, it doesn't look like anything is in danger from a wetland standpoint. Is there an advantage to putting some in now that are available and waiting in the spring because of the better growing season and plant availability?
No, I don't think there's any particular advantage one way or the other. I would probably defer to the property owner's preference, whether he wants to see what he can get at the end of the season and put it in now, or if he wants to wait until the spring. I think either is acceptable. I'm not concerned. It is a relatively flat area that was disturbed. They do have the silt fence. I would maybe encourage the wood chips stay until planting if they are waiting till the spring, just because they do provide an additional erosion control measure.
Yeah, the prices may be better now than in the spring.
They might be.
This is Commissioner Begamon regarding invasives management with planting. She mentioned something.
Yep.
So that would have to happen this fall if they're putting bush shrubs in, I think. Something.
Yeah, I mean, they would need to manage the invasives in the area that they're planting in. So. And I think one other thing to keep in mind is that the report does identify that a biologist should complete an inspection after the planting to document that the planting was done appropriately. So I think with all of that in mind, I don't know. I think it makes sense to wait until the spring, but if the property owner wants to plant now, I'm not going to tell them not to.
I think if I'm able to, I'd like to plant now. And if we find that they're not growing well, I mean, I could always replace them in the spring, just to kind of keep things moving in the right direction.
Okay, if that's the case, I would just recommend that you have Jen or some other botanist, landscape architect come out and do an inspection after you plant. It might even be a good idea that if you can have somebody come out that is, able to help you pick the places. So it's essentially a pre-planting inspection and a post-planting inspection. That way you're less likely of having to replant later.
Yeah. I planned on asking Jen to meet me out before I put a shovel to the ground, just to kind of.
You could either buy the plants and kind of place them where you think should go, and she can help you move them, or you could put like flags out, little stake flags or something to help make sure.
Yeah,
This is Commissioner Basserman. So Jamie, are we able to close this out when activities are still in the future, or is there a modification required here?
Yeah. So Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, I think the options are you could continue the show cause hearing if you think additional information is needed, or you could uphold and modify the order to approve implementation of the planting plan with monitoring to occur for 5 years after planting, possibly reduced to 3 years if the first 3 years are successful and reports are submitted on time. What was I gonna say? And then generally speaking, the commission leaves the order in place until after that monitoring period is completed. So the only outstanding question, I guess, is whether or not you think you need an application to resolve any of the activities. I think the application maybe could be a separate issue. In that case, I would just say that general site stabilization through ground cover establishment should also be achieved in addition to the planting plan. So that way we know that they don't have to continue to maintain the erosion controls forever.
This is Commissioner Boda. I would move or be in favor of upholding and modifying as that most recent discussion. So with the purpose is stabilization and vegetation, that the monitoring be done for 5 years unless we're getting good percentages in accordance with the plan for the first 3 years and solid reports, and that the plantings could be done this fall. Am I missing anything?
Is that a motion?
Sure. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
I don't think.
So then yes, that was a motion.
Does anybody want to second that?
This is Commissioner
Papantonis,
Murphy.
I'll second it.
That was Commissioner Mirsky.
It was both of us talking at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, sorry, it was Commissioner Murphy and Commissioner Papatonis seconding it at the same time. Sorry.
Okay. Tied for second.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, the plantings are per the
Report.
Per the report from Soil Science and Environmental Services dated October 21, 2025.
We need a formal vote here, Jamie.
yes.
Okay. Commissioner Armstrong,
I'm in favor of the motion.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begman, aye.
and I got one more.
Mirsky,
I'm sorry.
Mirsky.
That's Commissioner Mirsky.
Commissioner Murphy, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. By the way, I thought that was a very complete report that we received. Pretty detailed. Next up, cease and correct 25-1001, 3 Sycamore Way, clearing and site work without a permit, vegetation removal from the wetland. This is a continuation of a show cause hearing from October 9th. And we just recently got material on this, did we not, Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent received an updated plan per discussion at the last meeting yesterday, which was sent out to commissioners, loaded to the Dropbox. It shows the additional areas of activity that I had expressed concern be shown on the site plan, and it kind of spatially depicts the location of the planting plan or mitigation plan proposed by Davison Environmental. So just a quick reminder for commissioners, the cease and correct order was issued due to the activity on a site without a permit. Which included vegetation removal in a wetland and in the upland review area. There was a permit issued previously, I want to say around 2010. And the site was cleared per that limited disturbance back around 2013/2014. The area had regrown, and that area by and large is what was cleared with some additional disturbance towards and in the wetland area. But the grading activities were confined to that previously approved limits of disturbance. So I think those are the highlights, and I will hand it over to the property owners team to present their updated information. Although it looks like we may have a planning and zoning and inland wetland meeting overlap issue, because I think Freddie also had to go to the planning and zoning meeting. And I'm not seeing him on the call. So,
Hi, Jamie. I have no idea if Jim is still on because I can't hear him, but they're in a long discussion. So can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. So they're in a long discussion that I can hear. So I have no idea if Jim is even aware that he's supposed to be over here at this time. So I can go let him know if it's
I mean,
relevant.
he knows that it's on the agenda. I don't want to
Right.
interrupt his presentation before another commission.
He's not presenting, but they're just sort of in this discussion. I think it's up to you. I don't mind sort of checking with him, but nonetheless, he submitted this plan, so.
I can screen share the plan. Matt, do you want to present your part of it and then we can see
Sure.
where we're at?
Right.
Jim noted the conflict to me and asked me to cover, so.
Okay. Bear with me while in an effort to kind of show the commissioners how I use the public portal, I decided to use the public portal and the Dropbox, which I normally don't do, and it just takes a little bit longer to open up files. Okay, so this is the updated plan. Do you want to start with that or with one of your reports?
Yeah, the plan is good because we incorporated all basically the notes from my plan into this sheet, so that the contractor has everything in front of them. So basically so as Jamie stated, I was asked to delineate the wetlands on this lot, roughly 2 weeks ago. The clearing and site work had been done when I came in to delineate it. The area where the tree clearing in the wetland occurred was in a wetland finger that's on the very northern end there. It's basically a wetland finger that runs along Route 1 up towards Sycamore Way. It sort of terminates up at near a pipe outfall that is directing both stormwater from Sycamore Way as well as discharge from a wetland that's across Sycamore Way there that Jamie's highlighting. If you look inside the basin that discharges directly to this swale, it looks like the discharge pipe's elevated somewhat, so it's not persistently flowing, but does appear to flow after rain events or larger events. I'm guessing there's some flow in there in the spring. When we were out there and when I was out there, there was some surficial movement in from that outfall down towards the finger. There wasn't most of what was moving on the surface was wood chips and just organic debris that was on the top. There wasn't really any soil movement that I deciphered. So our mitigation plan addresses a few things. The mitigation plan is shaded there, so that's the area that we would assign the mitigation requirements to. So the mitigation plan includes planting in the wetland finger area. Within the wetland finger, I was proposing 50 wetland plugs, which are small, so they're easy to put into the wetland substrate there, as well as 20 shrubs. And then we also added some comments out when we did a site walk, we added 6 red maples that are just to the south of that wetland finger. Each of those is shown. Those would provide some shading for southern exposure to the wetland. I proposed monitoring for a period of 5 years. For the monitoring, my sense is that the existing root stock and seed stock that's in this wetland area will regrow. I think after 5 years, this area will probably be densely vegetated, and I have a feeling that a lot of what I'm proposing to plant will be overtopped at that time. So the metric for success in this case I put as I think I put 80% coverage of native vegetation in that area after 5 years. Because I think really it'll become an exercise in invasive species control in there more than anything. One of the reasons I did a lot of the plug plantings is because there's direct interaction between the stormwater and wetland discharge that drains down towards the finger. I wanted to have emergent vegetation in there, and that would be certainly the planting of the plugs would expedite that. As opposed to just the regrowth will probably be more from the shrub and tree layer as the existing rootstock takes hold again. Another important component of the mitigation plan, I think, is reconstructing the outfall where that pipe outfalls. There was a sort of an old plunge pool there that was kind of roughly formed with native stone. And so we discussed when we were out there rebuilding that outfall, and then also installing some erosion controls within the flow path below the outfall. And so in terms of timing, and this sort of dovetails into the last person that was up here with planting, we're kind of getting late in the season for getting the plantings installed. It may be difficult to get that plant material now, especially the plugs. I would say that rebuilding that plunge pool and installing the erosion controls, downgrading of it, would be something that should be done now before we head into the winter. Trying to think if there's anything else here. We did this plan essentially, like I said, we tried to put everything onto a single plan sheet to make it easier. So this sort of covers everything on here. The plantings are listed on here. I think Jim also put the monitoring requirements in there. I think that's about it. Another of the monitoring success standards is soil stability. So as I stated, this area receives direct discharge from that outfall. And this finger is in sort of a terrace that's slightly above the wetland that's below it. If you follow this wetland finger, when it hits that stone wall, it drops a few feet before it goes into the wetland. The topo doesn't show it well. So in terms of, attenuating sediment and stuff, I don't envision an erosion issue here, with what we're proposing to do, but certainly being in the path of, a flow path from a stormwater outfall and the outfall from the discharge across the way, there is a potential. So it's something certainly in the spring I'd want to take a look at a few times after snow melt and rainstorms to make sure there's not an issue, and to make sure the erosion controls that are installed, presumably over the next couple of weeks, are still intact. And I think so. That's about what I have.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I guess question, do you believe that there's enough hydrology from that discharge during the summer months, July and August, like we had this year, pretty good drought conditions for those plugs to survive?
Yeah, because it is a wetland. I was getting wetland soils up almost towards that pipe outfall. So there is wetland hydrology in there. The soils are silt loam too, so they're a little heavier. The silt loam soils tend to be, it's easier for hydrophytic vegetation to take hold in those soils because of the water retention capacity. So I think they'll be fine.
Mr. Davis, this is Commissioner Boda. What are the plugs?
They're basically I tried to choose emergents that would be tolerant of sort of seasonally saturated hydrology. You can see them there. There's some pollinators in there, iron weed, some aster, Joe Pye weed. The soft rush is, sort of one of those ones that colonizes very easily. So I just chose some native emergents that I thought would, provide some, aesthetic pollinator benefit, but also some coverage. 50 is a lot for that area, frankly. But again, the idea would be just to sort of I envision that they will function, they will have a role to play through the first half of the first growing season. Though they should establish in there quickly, and before anything else grows up in there, they will essentially be the only ground cover in there for a while. But I do, like I said, envision over time. It's next to the road there. I think that area was sort of dense shrubs before. There was some trees in there that were cut. Most appear to be less than 8 to 10 inches diameter. Most were even smaller than that. But that area was densely vegetated with shrubs. And so I suspect that over the course of the first year, you'll see the shrub growth come back, and it'll start to overwhelm some of the plantings. But again, those are at a, you're talking about a different strata, and the emergent vegetation will play a role as it'll interact with the discharge from the pipe, especially in the first growing season.
This is Commissioner Begman. I think you said not to replant trees because of the sight line on the road.
Yeah, so the property owner or the person who's interested in the property had a lot of concerns about the sight line. There's still one large red maple there that I think they desire to remove. But yeah, the trees apparently were creating an issue with the sight line there. And so we thought at least planting the trees set back from the road, but on a southern exposure, would provide some shading to the wetland. And I think for this particular wetland, the value of the shading would strictly be just to sort of keep invasives in check. But honestly, I think essentially what I said to the property owner, and the metric of having this area regrow with native vegetation, I would fully anticipate that the landowner has to contract with a firm like All Habitat. I would just do a 5-year contract and have them come back every year and treat the invasives. I think it's not a big area. I don't think it's a heavy lift. I think after a year or two of treatment, I think with the planting, with the regrowing of the native stuff there, I think after a few years, things will be in a little bit more equilibrium. And I suspect that the invasive treatments will be minimal after years 2 to 3. Of course, we'll be submitting a report every year that may or may not be tracked. But that report would document sort of what's growing, essentially what the coverage is at that time. But yeah, I suspect that you'll need some active invasive treatment there throughout the 5 years. Maybe the last year you don't or something, but there'll be enough invasive pressure there where you'll be treating it.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Is this another case of what we did with the 15 Pinewood? Uphold and modify? Or just, go ahead.
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yeah, so if you feel like you have enough information to move forward, I would again, similar to 15 Pinewood, if you're satisfied with the planting plan, the mitigation plan, also require that all of the other area that was disturbed be stabilized with vegetation. I have to admit, I've not been by the site recently. But 1 minute, of course, I didn't really take pictures of that part, but this is the wetland area that was disturbed. So you can kind of see some of the tree stumps of the trees that were removed in the wetland area. And then here's the silt fence, and yeah, I didn't take a picture of that. I just took a picture of the well. But I'm pretty sure Heather took a picture. So let me see.
Jamie, if you want to, I just put a ton of them in on the server and under the address just like 2 hours ago from my most recent visits, which I think was 8 days ago.
All right, 1 minute. Long Sycamore Way. All right, so here's one picture of, looks like where the water is flowing from the outfall after a storm event. Nothing wants to load.
Yeah, sorry, I've dropped a ton of pictures in there. I
There's
didn't really
the iPhone
curate.
photo
Sorry.
files. They don't load the same. Trying to find one that, here we go. And then this is kind of shows the area that I would say you want to make sure is everyone's, am I still screen sharing?
Yes.
Okay. This is the area that I would say you want to make sure is vegetated in addition to the mitigation.
It was seeded in mulch, but it wasn't taking very well. And so we did have a discussion out in the field about hydro seeding, which I would strongly recommend. And it seemed like the property owner was on board with it. So I can follow up with him to see if that's been scheduled, but I think that would be the most effective way to get that area vegetated quickly. And it's an optimal time right now.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Is that the only modification to what we looked at in terms of the report? Seems to be, right?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. It's not an application, but I will note that for mitigation on an application, the commission looks for 85% survival. They're proposing 80% native species. I don't know if you want to bump it up to 85% native species to try and keep it in line with what you would for a permit. I do think allowing them to count volunteer natives, particularly if they are having a robust invasive species management plan and plan on hiring somebody to routinely take care of that for them on a schedule, seems like a good metric for the monitoring standard.
That's fine on the applicant's end, Jamie. 85 is fine. I would actually suspect it'll be better than that with the focus being invasive species control. So that would be, that's fine on the applicant end.
This is Commissioner Basserman again. Then is the only modification on this particular cease and correct the reseeding of the area identified in whatever that picture was, and that it'd be subject to an 85% survival rate.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think it would be completion of monitoring for the plan dated 10/22/2025, along with establishment of vegetation within the area. Says clear area to be hydroseeded, to maybe specify hydroseeded this fall in the area above the silt fence that's currently installed on site. I do have one clarifying question before the commission moves forward with a decision. As far as the plunge pool work, would all of the regrading work be above both of these straw wattles, or is there additional regrading that would be proposed below the plunge pool?
I don't think Jim had any regrading proposed below the plunge pool. He called out the wattles, I think within the flow path.
Right. That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to make sure that that there wasn't a that the property owner wasn't looking to like define a channel or anything like that. Although we can see from the picture
Yeah,
There does appear to be a channel.
I wouldn't recommend doing any work in that area there. I
Okay.
mean, you're just asking for trouble, and there's already a defined flow path there that's been essentially in equilibrium for a long time. So it wants to follow that path. So I think I would leave that alone.
Not a question for you per se. Okay, I was wondering if there was dimensions for the plunge pool. It looks like we've got 14 feet long and 8 feet wide with a 2-foot top to bottom depth.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Mr. Davison, is the area to be hydroseeded identified on the site plan here?
It would essentially be everywhere within the silt fence. That's pretty much everything's been disturbed with the exception of a gravel track or a stone tracking pad that was placed on the road frontage there.
Gotcha. Does any commissioner look for additional information regarding the 3 Sycamore Way mitigation plan submitted on October 9th? Commissioner Bassman, does somebody want to make a motion regarding CISA Correct 25-1001, 3 Sycamore Way?
This is Commissioner Begman. I'll make a motion that we uphold and modify cease and correct 25-1001 3 Sycamore Way according to the planting plan that was discussed 10/23/25 as prepared 10/22/25 with the addition that the area above the silt fence, the cleared area above the silt fence is to be hydroseeded this fall. And that, yeah. That's enough.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I think we wanted a survival rate.
This is Commissioner Begman with the addition that the monitoring for 5 years will require 85% native species success. Right.
This is Commissioner Bodo, second.
Any further discussion? Okay. Take a vote. Commissioner Mirsky,
Commissioner Mirsky, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Bodo, aye.
Let's see.
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Begeman,
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. I got you. Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. Rules. Jamie, I think you had something under a discussion of schedule that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, no, we'll do that in November.
You can do that in November? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Can
I do that?
We can do that, except I thought you wanted to have a discussion, Jamie, regarding virtual versus online.
We can do it in November.
November?
I was
Great.
being very premature in raising that topic. November.
November sounds good. Anybody else have court issues? Nope. Okay. I adjourn the meeting.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank
all.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.